Hello. In this video, we want to look at statistical data. Data is life. Data are raw facts. Data are observable values of variables. Before we go into the statistical data, at the end of this lesson, learners should be able to define data, state different types of data, state methods of data collection. I'm Abdullah Okwemi Falade, your OR and statistics facilitator. What is statistical data? Data are observed values of variable. It can also be regarded as raw facts that need to be processed. Raw facts that needs to be processed. Raw data are collected data that have not been processed. It has not been organized numerically. And an example is the number of viewers on this YouTube channel since its inception. An array is an arrangement of raw numeric data in ascending or descending order of magnitude. And you can have this in an Excel file. In the subsequent videos, we shall look at how we can explain these concepts using Microsoft Excel. But now our focus is to have a clear understanding, to have a theoretical knowledge of what this data is all about, what data entails. Types of data. The two types of data are the qualitative data, which is the non-numeric data, and the quantitative data, which is the numeric data. So the qualitative data are those data that are not numeric. They don't take figures, numeric figures. And these are classified into some levels of measurement. Because they are not numeric, how do we measure them? So we measure them on a particular scale, and that is called level of measurement or scale of measurement. And these are four. For every qualitative data, we can measure it nominally, that is nominal data. Ordinally, that is ordinal data. Intervally, that is interval data. And ratio wise, that is using ratio concept to measure such a data. It's nominal when it is well defined, it has a nomenclature. It's ordinal when it has a rank, it can be sorted, it has a rank. It's interval when it has a starting point and ending point, it has an interval. It's ratio when it can tell the proportion of A to B. And these are coined into a French word, noir, which means black. And that is why this is colored black. The background is colored black, en français. So we have the quantitative data, which is also numeric data. A numeric data can either be discrete or continuous. It can either be what? Discrete or continuous. So in our next slide, we shall explain in details what each of these entails. Qualitative data are data that cannot be expressed numerically. Sometimes they are called categorical data. And categorical data has four types: the nominal, the ordinal, the interval, and the ratio. Nominal is a type of categorical data that belongs to definable category. It is well defined. such as employees, number of employees, names of employees, a set of mathematical instruments, state of origin, place of birth, favorite food, favorite color, sex, type of car, etc. The ordinal data are those data that are put into ordinal scale. They are ranked like academic performance, first class, second class upper, second class lower, third class, etc. First position, second position, the grading system A, B, C, D, E, A star, A, B minus, B star, etc. We have the interval data. The interval data are measured on a scale in which each point is equidistant from one another. So there's always an equal distance at every point. It could be a piecewise manner that has an equal distance at each point. So interval data are used in psychological experiments that measure attributes along an arbitrary scale between two extremes. For example, temperature in degrees of Fahrenheit. We have the ratio scale. In the ratio scale, number can be compared as multiples of one another or a proportion. For example, when a person is twice as taller as the other person, it's a ratio scale format. So the interval and the ratio scale data measure quantities, and sometimes they could be quantitative because they are measured on a scale. They are also called scale data. So interval and ratio data are also called scale data. So interval and ratio data are parametric, and they are used with parametric tools in which distributions are predictable, and it's often a normal distribution whereby the mean is equals to the median and also equals to the mode, or the coefficient of skewness is equals to 0. That's when we have a normal distribution. On the other hand, we have the quantitative data, which are the numeric data. So when you are conducting a research, you should know which type of data are you trying to collect. Is it a qualitative data? Is it a quantitative data? The quantitative data can either be discrete or continuous. What do we mean by district data? A district data simply means it takes specific numeric value, all numbers, number of children in the family. We can't have 3.5 number of children. No. Do we mean we want to divide one people? We want to cut them into two? No. So the number of children in the family will take a numeric value. Number of people that participated in an exam will be numeric. It will take a concise figure, whole number. Number of buses in the garage, number of shoes. There won't be any room for decimal numbers. So that is district data. We also have the continuous data. A continuous data is also a numeric data, but it takes both whole numbers and fractions. It takes whole numbers and fractions. Examples are length, when you measure the length, or you measure your height or the mass of an object on a beam balance or weight balance. You check your weight, etc. So you can either have decimal values in these cases, like 5.5 centimeter, 3.5, 4.2. So these are continuous data. So continuous data can be whole number and it can be decimal number. So at this point, we can say that we can have a district data in continuous data. We can have a district data in continuous data. So we can say that continuous data are district data. but the converse is not always true. A district data cannot be continuous, but a continuous data can be district, which means a continuous data can take a whole numbers. What are the sources of getting all this data we have been talking about? How do we get there? There are two major sources of data. We have the primary and the secondary sources. What are primary source of data? It is the data you collect by yourself as a researcher or as a statistician. You go to the field to collect the data by yourself. Nobody collected the data on your behalf. You went there to collect the data by yourself. And you collect the data to help you solve a problem or to take advantage of an opportunity on which a decision is pending. Also, we have the secondary source of data in which the data were developed from some purpose other than helping to solve the problem at hand. So it can be gathered quickly and inexpensively compared to primary data. In primary data, you have to put things together, prepare for logistics, to go directly, come up with a team of people that will help you because data collection is not a man's job. It has to be a team. You train people on what you want, the kind of data you are trying to collect, and the purpose of collecting the data. So if it's a secondary data, you might need you might not really need more people. You can easily go to a source like National Bureau of Statistics. You can even get it in journals, in publications. So before secondary data can be used as only source of information to help solve a problem, they must be available, relevant, accurate, and sufficient. If one or more of these criteria are not met, primary data may have to be used. So we don't just use secondary data anyhow. You must make sure that the data is available, is relevant, is accurate, and sufficient. ARAS. ARAS. Available, that is A. Relevant, that is R. The next A is accurate, followed by S, sufficient. ARAS. Available, relevant, accurate, and sufficient. Otherwise, primary data may have to be considered. What are the methods of collecting primary data? Observation method. From the name, you observe. It's a methodological way of recognizing. You recognize or you note a fact or occurrence, often involving some sort of measurement. Another way of collecting primary data is interview or questionnaire. We are used to this in our project work, whereby we administer questionnaire to elicit some response. It involves taking the questionnaire or structured interview to people for immediate response. And what do we mean by a questionnaire is a series of carefully prepared questions aimed at collectively providing answers that constitute part of or the main data required in a statistical inquiry or research. So a questionnaire has to be carefully prepared. You don't rush when you are preparing a questionnaire. It has to be carefully prepared. You review and you make sure it go in lines with your research objectives, with the purpose which you want to elicit responses, the purpose which you are carrying out in research. Also, primary data can be collected through case study. It is an empirical inquiry that investigates a contemporary phenomenon within its real-life context, and the results obtained are used for the situation and population that are investigated. We also have the sociometry. Sociometry involves having each member of a group chosen from all other members, those with whom it prefers to live, eat, work, or otherwise associate in a specific situation. So the diagrammatical representation of this sociometric data is the sociogram. Sociogram is the diagrammatical representation of the sociometric data. Data are special types of information, generally obtained through observation, surveys, inquiries, and are generated as a result of human activity. Primary data are collected afresh and for the first time, especially for designated purpose. And secondary data have already been collected and compiled by someone else. This is a summary on method of data collection. Practice questions. Dash is an arrangement of raw numeric data in ascending or descending order. Data can be classified into dash and dash. Two sources of data are dash and dash. Number of candidates that participate in CIPM March 2022 exam is dash data. What type of data is that? Series of carefully prepared questions aim at collectively providing answers that constitute part of or the main data required in a statistical inquiry or research is known as dash. I hope you've learned in this video. See you in the next video. Bye for now.